back to my kitchen. So for this week's video tutorial, I really wanted to do another recipe video for you. So I'm going to be showing you how to make macarons. Now macarons are perfect either on their own or you can add them to your cakes. Now each macaron is just made up of two halves, which is almond and meringue based, and these are sandwiched together in the middle with a nice filling. Now you may have heard these referred to as French pastries or maybe biscuits or even cookies. So whatever you call them wherever you are, let's get started. Okay, so the ingredients that we're going to need in order to make our macarons is, first of all, I've got 85 grams of icing sugar. I've got 80 grams of ground almonds, 80 grams of caster sugar. Now you will need 60 grams of egg whites, and this usually equates to around 2 medium-sized eggs. I've got some colour to add to my macarons. Now I've also got a piping bag and a number 12 piping tip. This one just has a circle end which is just over ½ centimetre in diameter. I've then got a printed out sheet. Now this one just has circles that I've placed on here, and I will put a link in the description below where you can download this to print it off, and this is just going to give us the size of our macarons. Now the ingredients that I've got here I will put in the description below, but these make around 30 complete macarons. Okay, so the reason that I'm using a food processor is just so that I can get the grains of ground almonds as small as possible. We need them to resemble the consistency of flour. Now, if we don't get the grains as small as we possibly can, this could result in the macarons not having a smooth surface and you'll get little bumps in the top. So I'm just going to place my ground almonds and my icing sugar into my food processor and just blitz those. Now I'm going to do this for around 15 to 20 seconds. I'm then going to stop the food processor and just give it a bit of a shake, or just mix that mixture around and just do it again. So this is just going to help to make those almond granules as small as possible. Now I'm going to remove the dry mixture from the food processor, and I just want to put it through a sieve with quite fine holes in the bottom. Now any grains are too big in order to fit through the sieve. I'm just going to use a spatula and I'm just going to grind those down slightly, just until they fit through. So you just want to continue until you've sieved through all the mixture. Don't forget that if you're enjoying this video, you can subscribe to the Cakes by Lynn's YouTube channel. You can also hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, and this just alerts you every time a new video is uploaded. So here we have all the almonds and the icing sugar, and as you can see, it's got the consistency of flour. So I'm just going to pop this to one side whilst we prepare the meringue. Now for the meringues, I'm going to start with a large glass bowl, and I'm just going to separate my eggs into there so that we have only the egg whites left. Now your eggs will need to be at room temperature, and remember that we need 60 grams of egg white. I then want to use my electric whisk, and I'm going to start on quite a low speed and just mix these for a few minutes, just until you lose the opaqueness of the egg whites and they start to turn fluffy. I'm then going to turn up my hand whisk and continue for a few minutes until we get some nice peaks. Now, if you haven't already seen it and you're interested in learning more about creating meringues, then don't forget to head over and check out my meringue video. So once your egg whites have thickened and you're left with these nice peaks, it's now time to add our sugar. So I've got my caster sugar here, and I want to add this a teaspoon at a time whilst we mix the egg whites, just until all that sugar has dissolved. Okay, so once you've added all of your sugar, I'm just going to take a clean spatula and just make sure that there's no sugar left on the side of my bowl. It's then at this stage you want to add any colour. So I'm just going to add some pink gel colour. Now gel colours work best because you're not adding water to your mixture. You can also use this time to add any flavourings you want. Now I'm just going to pop my mixer back in and continue mixing on a high speed for a few minutes. We're just looking for our meringue to have a nice silky consistency and all the sugar has melted throughout your egg whites. So once our meringue has been mixed, we're left with this nice, shiny, silky mixture that just retains its shape. And if you feel some of that, you won't feel any sugar granules. So our meringue mixture is now ready for our dry ingredients. I take the ground almonds and my icing sugar and just pop half of that into the bowl to start with. You then want to just fold this in, and once that's fully combined, you can just add the rest. You're left with a mixture that is quite thick and doesn't fall off your spatula, and you can also see that there's loads of air bubbles throughout. Now we want to get rid of some of those air bubbles and also make it quite a silky mixture that just falls off the spatula. So fold the mixture, but as we come back, I'm just going to push it against the side of my bowl, and what this is going to do is just push out some of those air bubbles. You will need to do this around 40 times. This will just give you this nice silky mixture that just runs off of your spatula, and that's when you know that your mixture is ready to pipe. So I'm going to take my number 12 piping tip and my piping bag. Now I'm going to take a shorter glass than I would use if I was filling my piping bag with buttercream, and the reason for this is so that I can fold the bottom of my piping bag over. Now the mixture is quite runny, so we don't want the mixture to just run out of the piping bag as we fill it. So I'm going to pop the piping bag inside with the end turned over. I can then pour in my macaron mixture. Now before I take that out, I'm just going to prepare a baking tray with my template that I've printed out on the top, plus a piece of parchment paper just over the top. I can then take my piping bag and just secure the end before I release the top to allow the mixture to come out. Now if your parchment paper has a slight curve on there, you can just pop some of the mixture underneath just to secure it in place. But if not, I'm just going to start by placing the piping tip against the parchment paper and just using the circles as a guide. So I'm just going to pipe around and just bring the piping bag into the center. So you want your macaroons to retain their size. If they spread out quite a lot, it means that you've overmixed your mixture. Also, you want the little dents on the top just to collapse in. If they retain there, then that means you haven't mixed your mixture enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and pipe out a whole tray of circles. There we have our first tray complete. I'm just going to go ahead and pipe out the rest of my mixture. Once we have all the trays piped out, slide out the template. Now I'm just going to tap this on my work surface a few times, and all this is going to do is just push out any air bubbles, and I'm going to do that with all of my trays. Now the next thing that we want to do is actually leave these to one side. What we're looking for is the outer shell to crust over so that if you touch them, they're not tacky. The reason for doing this is because when we pop them in the oven, we don't want them to spread out. We want them to go straight up. And this will give you the nice textured ring at the bottom, which is actually called the feet. So the amount of time that you need to leave these in order for them to crust over really does depend on the climate you're in. If it's quite cold and quite dry, then they may only take 10 to 15 minutes. If it's quite hot and quite humid, they may take an hour and a half. So you just need to leave these in a dry, cool place. So I've had my macaron discs resting for around 45 minutes, and as you can see, when I run my finger over the top, they're not tacky anymore. I've preheated my oven to 130 degrees and I'm going to put them in for 10 minutes. Now I'm going to bake each of the sheets separately on the middle shelf, and once one is done, replace it with the other one. So once they've come out of the oven, I've just removed them from the baking tray and left them to cool. So if we take a closer look, we've just got this nice smooth top, and around the edge we've got this textured ridge. So as you can see, it's just risen straight up. Now what you want is a nice shell on the outside and a nice soft chewy middle. So what I'm going to do now is prepare my filling. So macarons tend to be filled with either a buttercream or a ganache. So for these ones, I'm going to fill them with a white chocolate ganache. So I've just got 250 grams of white chocolate that I've just cut up into small pieces. I've then got 100 ml of double cream. I'm going to heat up my double cream until it's boiling, and I'm going to add this to my white chocolate. I'm then going to go in with my spatula and just mix this up until it's all combined and that chocolate has completely melted. I'm then left with this nice runny smooth mixture. Pop my bowl to one side just for the ganache to cool down. I can then use my electric whisk just to whisk this up so it's nice and airy to add to our macarons. Pop this in a piping bag, again with my number 12 piping tip. And I'm going to start sandwiching together my macarons. Now, if you have time, I always find that the macarons are better if you put them all together the next day. So I usually just store the shells in an airtight container and pop this in the fridge overnight. I can then pipe a ball of chocolate ganache in the center and just sandwich those two together, and there we have our finished macaron. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for the whole batch. Now you can create macarons in so many different colors and flavors. So here I just have the pink ones that I've baked today and another batch that I've baked in a lilac color. So when it comes to storing your macarons, you just want to keep them in an airtight container away from any moisture, and they'll last around 3 to 4 days. So here we have the finished macarons. Now I've made them in a variety of colors, so I've got some different shades of pinks and some purple, and I'm just going to add these to a 6-inch buttercream cake, which I've just added a white drip around the edge. Now I'm just teaming the macarons with some meringues in some similar colors and finishing the cake off with some sprinkles. I really hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial and you'll find it useful if you want to make your own macarons. If you have, then don't forget to give this video a like, and if you'd like to see more videos like this and you haven't already, you can subscribe to the Cake Sponge YouTube channel. You can also hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button, and this will just alert you every time a new video is uploaded so you don't miss a thing. So until next time, bye!